Okay, it's another episode of True Squad, and we want to go to a request from our viewers that say they want us to do an episode of, well, it's just a kind of episode, and this is how it goes. Right, so we want you to consider a video I made last week where I talked about adults who still have phobias. Phobia is a fear that causes high anxiety in the person. So much so that they change their adult behavior to avoid whatever the phobia is. So this could lead them to be like all the other things that we call neuroses, which are simply you have got mental problems. Let's just put it that way. In other words, if you had these problems on a computer, you would take it to a tech support person and you would say, I need you to format the whole hard drive because it's corrupted. You might say, well, you know, I live in Florida and we get, these electrical storms, and they pretty much happen, multiple times a week. And so we get these power surges that go in through the old plug-in computers, and well, sometimes the computer would run right through and it would seem okay. Other times it would maybe you get a blue screen of death, or other times it just like the computer won't turn on and off anymore. And those are indications that the computer needs to go to tech support and get full diagnostics on the hardware and the softwares. So the same thing happens with humans, and we do it for the physical hardware. If we feel like a crick in our neck, something is not coming back, is not healing on its own, then we have no problem going to see the doctor about physical things. And then people say, and you can do the same thing with mental doctors, and I say, no, you can't. Because the people that we consider mental doctors do nothing but what? They push pills, that's all they do. They don't do any kind of using their own brain to treat the person using their own brain as a model. They don't spend any time doing talk therapy or cognitive therapy. They don't. All they do is they see you and they expect that you're going to be come and gone in 15 minutes, and they're just going to gaslight you. Remember, gaslighting is when people tell you you're crazy. That's pure gaslighting. And then there's different versions of gaslighting about exactly what they're telling you, to make. And then they try and make it so that you start to believe that you're crazy. You believe these people. But the truth of the matter is that none of this psychiatrists are real people that can fix what's going on in your mind. Who is going to deprogram your mind? Or can you go someplace and just get your whole computer redone? So where on planet Earth can we go and get a totally redo? Where can we go and get the hard drive formatted, low-level formatted, and all the software reinstalled, fresh, with the newest versions available? And maybe we're going to want to consult to see if we want any of the old software reinstalled, or whether we want this computer at all, because maybe it's what they gave you, but maybe it's really way behind the times and you needed to have something completely new. You shouldn't have upgraded or even reinstalled this thing. This thing should have been taken to the recycle bin and recycled into component parts. So where else do you want to go with this? Well, the answer is we are unable to figure out how we do a complete redo of the human from mind to body. Certainly the drugs that are prescribed don't do anything at all. They make me feel better. Well, is it in a placebo effect? Because I'm going to tell you that I've seen studies published in, for example, the Toronto Star that talked about the placebo effect and mental illness drugs. And this particular article was saying that there's, these drugs are they're marketed as being miracle drugs, But in the end, it's confounded studies and loose morals when it comes to publishing things and saying that there is something kind of benefit to these kind of things. So what about people that say, well, for everybody that says that a person took these psychotropic drugs and it helped them or helped a family member, I'm going to tell you, my family member, one of my best friends, died because she was prescribed one of these things. It was a lithium compound, and it killed her kidneys, and without her kidneys, she got cancer and she died. Those are all the horrible things that happened to her in her life. So I just want to tell you, I mean, don't tell me these kind of stories, because I've already had enough life experience to know that sometimes people will say that the drug worked and changed their lives, but I know how they work with me over my lifetime, and pretty much I'm gonna go with you're getting like whatever you're getting, well, that's what you got. But I'm not going to change my mind upon the fact that psychiatrists are not doing Jungian analysis. Why not? Freudian analysis? Why not? What are they doing? They are collecting the largest salaries from Canadian provincial governments. If you look at Ontario, it's got what's known as the Ontario Sunshine List. And it's a list of the names, the positions, and where they are for everybody that works for the Ontario government who makes more than $100,000 a year. And when they first put this out, $100,000 a year was a lot of money. And nowadays $100,000 a year is it's not enough to even afford to properly live in an Ontario city. But if you look at the top paid doctors, Ontario has a government paid system where the doctors bill the government and the government pays the doctors. And the top billings are psychiatrists in Ontario. I don't understand why that is. To me, it sounds unbalanced. It seems to me that emergency room doctors should be paid very highly. People who take on really tough jobs, like some patients who are palliative. In other words, maybe people who are they're in their last stages of life. They're expected to die soon. They take a lot of medical care. They just do. And, a doctor looking at it says, a palliative person who takes a lot of care, a lot of, checking in on this person on a daily basis. It's like, I don't get to bill the government as much as I would bill if I had, I was only picking, where I can get massive numbers of people to come through my office door, and I could bill them, for all these things. What is the truth all about this? The truth all about this is, once again, we don't have anybody who's watching the effectiveness of these systems of government, systems of how doctors are paid. No one is doing statistics on them, looking to see outcomes, comparing and contrasting with other places. Well, even when this stuff comes up and you see an economics report, the people that are governing it aren't asking for this report. And there's certainly, when it's shown to them, they certainly want to discredit it because they don't want to be responsible for what they're elected to do or what they're appointed to do. There is nothing going on as far as checking up on government. And this has been going on since government was created, because they don't want anything other than to look after themselves. And we know all this. What is the thing that you can do about it? The most important thing that people are doing these days is saying, I know what's going on. I know how crooked things are. I know how horrible it is for many people. And me personally, there's very little that I can do. Because I voted for generations in my family for the best man. And what we've learned over the generations is it doesn't matter who you vote for, you're never going to get the best man. You're never going to get the best person. You're always going to get somebody who is not going to carry through. So people are now at the place where they say, the truth of the matter is, I know all this shit's going on. There's nothing I can do personally to change it. It's too big of a problem. So then the next thing that they're doing is they're saying, I'm going to hold space on this. What does that mean? It means I'm going to keep my vibration up. My consciousness, I'm going to keep it up. High frequency, they call it. And I'm just going to do my best to hold my high frequency vibration. And that is what I'm going to do about all the problems on planet Earth. I'm going to increase the consciousness level of the collective consciousness by me just working on raising my consciousness. And that's what many people are doing today. They don't know what to do because they say there's nothing that looks like it's going to work. And I'm sick of like this what do they call virtue signaling. I'm not going to virtue signal and say I'm going to do something, it's better than doing nothing. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to go and lie and bullshit people and tell people that I'm doing something that's effective when we all know it's just busy work. I'm going to raise my vibration and hire myself higher and higher into the stratosphere of consciousness. While I am grounded here on Earth. So, in essence, I'm still going to be aware of everything. And I'm still going to speak my truth. And I'm still going to do the things that I'm going to do. But while I'm doing it, I'm going to be very mindful and focused on what I'm doing as much as possible. And I'm going to keep going back to the basics. And the basics are always going to be what you would be asked in the court of law if you were on the jury. Somebody who is a member of the community, and you're being asked to use your best discernment to determine the verdict on something that you've been asked to make a judgment on. And in the end, what do we want to keep bringing back to everybody is, if you are in the middle of something horrible going on, there are lots of people who don't know anything about you. Don't know your name, don't know where you're living right now, don't know what's going on with you, but they are raising their consciousness, focusing on doing their shadow works, their inner child work, their curing ancestral demons. They're ending family practices that were just passed on from generation to generation. Getting rid of the things that don't resonate today and are actually disgusting, and it's like, I can't believe 10 generations ago they didn't get rid of this, like human slavery, like why is it that we're still hearing about human slavery on the planet? So all of these things that keep coming up. And what you do to raise your consciousness is meditate. Take time out. Be by yourself in a quiet place and just have consciousness. And you can't have it. It's more like stripping away everything except the inner silence.